Katie, we're live on LinkedIn. Hi. So we're talking about TikTok on LinkedIn. It's coming. Beta users have been asked to test it. I think the news came out, it was leaked about 2 weeks ago. So we thought we'd get ahead and do a LinkedIn Live on it. So I gave my friend Katie a call and I said, Katie, you work with enterprise businesses on content. I'm sure you know a thing or two about TikTok video as well as B2B marketing. So let's have a chat here on LinkedIn. So hi, Katie. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I can see there are people in the room already. So do let me know. Do you know me? Do you know Katie? And if you've got any questions about video, pop them because myself and Katie are here to answer all of your questions. Nice to see you, Teresa. Anybody else here, drop us a line. So, Katie, video. Let's just, before we talk about TikTok video on LinkedIn, let's talk about video as a format for B2B marketing, because we are seeing more and more of it, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. And it's become a crucial part. In fact, our whole behavior has changed because of TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts, in that we are very keen to look at vertical video in short form format. And the success on social media for video is really high. What we see is social media video actually gets more shares, 12,000% more shares than text and images combined. And Google has also done a recent report where they show that 70% of B2B buyers watch video throughout their path to purchase, throughout their purchase journey. So I feel very strongly that video is now part of the crucial element of your overarching marketing mix. But this is also putting us all a bit center stage in a way that we're not quite used to yet. But I can tell you it works. We work with a very large enterprise tech client where we did a series of videos, episodic style videos on different topics. And over 12 weeks, we delivered an attributed pipeline of 38 million direct from social media. So the ROI at the other end is phenomenal if you get it right.
Well, that's the question.
But I also, yeah, exactly. And I also think, though, before we get into, you said TikTok, but short form or whatever you want to call it, before we get into that, I do think, because of your experience, where in the sort of strategic context of your LinkedIn strategy, where does video sit in the wider picture?
I'm about to start talking about the algorithm, and you have to stop me because I could talk about the algorithm but as far as the algorithm goes, video has been performing well for a while now. I know that it can be, in terms of impressions, the analytics have got better, so you can actually see what the sort of real video views are versus the impressions as well. And what we found is that video, time and time again, is one of the formats that tends to do better. But there are other things that are affecting the algorithm, in that video is the most shared type of content. I think it was LinkedIn's research that said that video gets shared 20 times more than your standard sort of text posts. And so we know from our own research that the number of reposts that you get on a post really boosts that. So algorithmically, it's a format that is doing really, really well, but that's sort of not the whole thing of it. Of course, I do think it's about building trust, and people buy from people. If people see you on video, then it's just increasing that. If you write a post and it's pretty intelligent, then it's going to have an impact. Of course it is, but you're going to have many times that. It's that whole sort of, a picture tells 1,000 words. What does a video say in terms of increasing trust? And people buy on trust. And then there are quite a few studies about the effect of thought leadership on the B2B buying journey. There's quite a few studies. Everything's in around the 70% of B2B buyers are really looking at thought leadership content when they're choosing their vendor. And so if you can get somebody in your company, usually somebody like a senior exec or your CEO, that is coming out with sort of uncommon thoughts, really great ideas that people can get behind, get that belief, it's going to massively build trust in the people who are running the company. If you're a salesperson, that they're looking at not just you, but they're looking at the other people who are going to be servicing the people that are overseeing those. And then you add that algorithmic boost that it's going to give you, then, I can't see that video is a format that shouldn't be part of the LinkedIn strategy. It's just, there's going to be a problem if you're not doing it pretty soon.
Yes, I agree.
So I guess we need to then look into, Katie, where the video needs to go sort of next, because that's where it fits in with the LinkedIn side of things. But it's just not that easy getting people onto video, and that's the challenge. And well, I felt that challenge quite acutely, and I think that you've probably got a few tips for us on that.
Yes, getting executives, or quite often the case with our more tech orientated brands, fintech, IT and services, is the subject matter experts who really know their stuff. Getting them on camera is really hard. And the worst videos we ever see are those ones where the person has been given a script and they sit there like this going, and it's awful. It's awful. So there are ways in which you can do things. There's a whole range of things, but 3 priorities I'd say that you need to pay attention to is, first of all, right up front, before you even get a camera out, go and chat to your leader about the things they're passionate about, because that's really what, it's not the subjects they think you should talk about, it's the things that they love. And nearly always those that are either subject matter experts or in the leadership will have that bit that is their driving force. And that's the thing to tap into, certainly as you start this adventure. The second is, interviewing is better. You can have your interviewer off screen. That's not a problem. But interviewing is much easier, and particularly when you're doing short form video, because people tend to look at slightly off camera, which is a little bit easier for them when they start. When the leadership starts staring into the barrel of a camera, it can look really frightening. So it stops that weird, scared look. So looking to one side. And the other final thing, there are loads of other little bits and bobs, and I'll try and get as many across as I can, but add a buffer around your chat. We start our cameras rolling. We'll often have multiple cameras running if it's pre-recorded, so that, and then we start the chat with all sorts of rubbish, to be honest, a bit like we did. Lots of giggles, lots of daftness and how's business going type stuff. And then we do the interview, which I'll talk about the scripting in a minute, but is just, it's just from my perspective, that allowing the camera to roll so that you can then cut is a much better way, because I can guarantee you within 10 minutes, the leader, executive will relax. They just will, because it's so much easier to do it via interview.
It's almost like they're doing it and they don't know they're doing it, isn't it? Just get them in their flow.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've got a couple of questions coming in, and I know that we sort of want to really, we will come to your question. Amber, thank you so much. And Camilla, thank you for your question as well. We'll absolutely come to those, but I think we just need to just sort of get this context, because what I think the thing that a lot of people are struggling with is, how will the TikTok video differ to that kind of short form video on LinkedIn? I mean, everybody's calling it TikTok on LinkedIn, but it's not exactly going to be that, is it?
No. Well, it may be. At the moment, the beta versions we're seeing looks like the same sort of feed. So if you're not a TikToker, but you're on Instagram, it's that flicking up of video after video, with each video being quite short. It's the format. And I have to say, we're obviously calling it TikTok because it's such a crazy idea, isn't it? And it's a bit clickbaity. So, but the reality is, in a professional context, the rules don't change whether you're doing long form video, short form video. If you are doing video to generate leads and brand awareness, and to keep your brand in front of your customer so that you pick up on memorability, you become distinctive and they remember you when they're ready to buy, The only thing you need to focus on is why people buy your products or services and what those pain points are. That is your focus. So if you haven't mapped out the real pain points that sit alongside your customer, that's your first job. And then you're able to, because we're talking about short video, you want to be really clipped. Now you can take that leadership video very long and still manage to cut it down into short pieces. But you need to think about the story tell so that people remember it, so people are interested in it. What are you saying? Showcase real world applications, or provide sneak peeks, or do animation that leads from one video to the next video to the next video, so people keep watching. The same principles that you see happening on TikTok, maybe without so much music, will be the same. So episodic is a really good way, I think, of taking the professional element of TikTok into this. And I must add, there are a lot of B2B brands on TikTok. That we have a report on our website, which you're very welcome to. I can share it afterwards if it's not shared by one of my colleagues. But which shows what B2B brands are already doing on TikTok. And the real key to short form video is a hook, not a sting, as we call it, which is we want to hook your buyer from the moment they see it with that problem that you solve. That's where you need to get to, not a whole 10 seconds of your logo whizzing about the screen, because frankly, you see 3 of those and you're gone.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about brand consistency within that, then you have to look at not putting your brand necessarily everywhere, because people will find you regardless, but actually talking about the values that your company believes in and the service that you provide in the language that's being used. So I think those are probably the most important things for being professional. One final element that I think needs to be added is that in the case of a professional video, you need to market the video itself, even if it is short form. And that means creating other content around the video that supports it. So that could be audiograms, it could be other perspectives, could be case studies, wherever it is that you're actually also continuing, so that you're building up this memorable presence on a particular customer pain point.
I am feeling really inspired. I want to.
Well,
I wish I'd been asked to be a beta user. When the news came out, I was looking at some of the comments on articles, and people were like, "Oh no, please, don't, I have enough of this on my social channels. LinkedIn is for professional, not personal. Like, keep it in its place." And I know from the training I do on LinkedIn is that we get asked, but we don't want to be too personal. Is it personal or is it professional? And I feel really strongly about how you need to blend that. You need to maintain professionalism, but if you do it without personality, then you're not going to get the engagement. And so I have this slide that says, should it be personal or professional? Well, it doesn't matter as long as your personality is there and that you're true to your brand. And actually, we're also thinking about the format. It's on video. Back in the day, it would be your receptionist is still a person, whether that's coming into your company and representing your brand. And so it's just about, I guess, weaving that in. How do you bring that sort of the personality of the, which the video is going to make that personality shine out, as much as possible, but just maintaining that professionalism. And I think people are really concerned that we'll lose that professionalism on LinkedIn. And what I would always say is that if you think about how you work, that's really personal to you, but it's still professional. It's how your colleagues know you. It's how people that have worked with you in the past knows you. If you think about, why you've made this career move, it's because you value certain things. That's really personal as well. And so if you go back to what you and your brand value, and then sort of make that kind of the essence of it, then I think that can be a really good balance point for bringing that personality in. What do you think?
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely. In fact, it was the key question I wanted to ask you, which is how do you amplify that brand voice? Because there'll be several strategies to take forward, looking at making sure that, yes, short form video is part of that, but how can you make sure that you engage and amplify the brand voice? And I think that's a
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. I do think that there is, it becomes easier when when you're the subject matter expert, when you are the person that is talking about the topic or showing your industry expertise, then you can do that with your own personality. I think that if people are thinking about what they had for dinner and taking the dog for a walk and trying to tenuously link that to what the company's doing, I think that's kind of the place that we're at the moment with LinkedIn, with a lot of posts, and it just needs to, yeah,
I
just
think it will get very wearing, and you don't have to be like that. As I say, having worked for a number of years with a lot of brands that they just can't go there. That's not the place. But you're right, there is a personality, and it might be that your personality is authoritative. The real key to this is to sit down and write down who you are in terms of your professional context. And I'm sure this is very similar to the way you help people write their profiles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we're writing the profile, we go back to the values, and then we look at, why did you do that, and what are the things that people have always known you for, and can you give me a specific example now today where you have demonstrated that value? Can you give me an example in your personal life? Can you give me an example from years ago? And that can very often, the reason that you need personality is that people need to relate to you. They need to, and it can be the thing that you least expect that you say that they remember you for, because we are complex beings. There are things people remember you for a whole load of different reasons. If you start just saying, I believe in this and that value, then it's not memorable, and it starts sounding a bit like a CV on a personal profile. I'm a team player, and all of those things might be true. But if you give a specific example about how I always thought that, but I did that, they go, I did that as well, or I knew somebody who used to do that. So actually, it's those specifics that come out can really, really resonate with people. And I would say that, sort of on a practical level, we sometimes try and say too much, and it becomes so crowded that we're not really giving that one message across. So if you think about what you want to be known for, and you've got that key messaging on posts, I always say, just say one thing. And if it sounds super simple, then, like, people are just flicking through. To get them to stop to read a great big load of this, yes, story tell, but simple, short, one takeaway. And also we feel that every post has to have a call to action: download my white paper, go to my website. And really, it's just, all you want people to do is pause to take in that message, pause to think, pause to reflect, hopefully pause to comment and like. That would be great. But actually, trying to get them to do more than one thing is, and that's why you need that consistency as well, time and again, and short content will help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm aware that it's been a little while, and I don't want to lose Amber. Thank you, Amber, for your question. Katie, are you okay if we take a question from the audience? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but I'm sure it was a great question. We've got one from Lily here as well. Right, let's go back up to Amber. Hope you're still here, Amber. How do B2B brands differ in their approach to thought leadership through short form video compared to B2C brands on LinkedIn?
Oh, well, there are some consumer brands on LinkedIn who are trying to, I would say, how do I think? This is a very personal opinion, is that all the challenges we've just talked about, which is a lot of B2B brands say too much, talk too much, switch quite a lot from one topic to the next, and you're like, well, my head is spinning. But when it comes to video, I'd say there's a lack of creativity. just seeing once more, the million headshot type post is just, it drives me nuts. It's like the idea that we're suddenly very different if we're in B2B from our consumer. Surely the idea that short form video is trending really just tells us, frankly, that that is rubbish, because it's come out of our consumer world and it's now entered into our B2B world. So I just think, yeah, I'd say B2C tends to do it better, even on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the thought leadership type of thing. I haven't seen a lot of B2C thought leadership on LinkedIn. Can you think of any examples?
There are the personality style things. Think Richard Branson. So there's what tends to happen in consumers. It leans heavier on personality and the kind of fame and celebrity almost. There was I can't think of the King of Shaves. I can't think of his name, but it will be that kind of entrepreneur or Bartlett. Can't think of his first name now. It's gone out. Stephen Bartlett, thank you. Very typically, the personality, although he is B2B, what B2B is really quite difficult, finds it quite difficult to do, because particularly in the corporate world, is have one champion. And that's you have to plan your way around that to spread the load, because you're a corporate business, not, you're an enterprise sized business. You're not one individual who's an entrepreneur and who's starting up. So there's a different mechanic for each. One which requires a lot of personality. If you're an entrepreneur, you need a lot of personality. You need to be out there chatting away, sharing your expertise. If you are part of the corporate world, then you need to fit within that, but be braver.
Yeah. And that is also the power the B2B organizations have, because there is power in numbers. So if you've got a number of senior execs from an organization, impressing people, some people relating to one more than the other, perhaps, because not everybody's a cutout of the next person, then there is a tactic where, if you have a target audience that you're trying to engage with, and there's a number of you in your organization very active on LinkedIn, and you get very connected into those accounts, and you've got different people engaging with different people, you've actually got, you're creating a little bit of an algorithm bubble between you and your target audience. So in a way, it's that, the power of the personalities when they work in one direction. I think one of the challenges that businesses have at the moment is that they're getting people to be active on LinkedIn, and everybody's going off and doing their own thing. And it's about making it a cohesive strategy between them, not just the content that you're putting out, but also who they're connecting to and who they're engaging with as well.
Spot on.
I hope that answers your question, Amber. Feel free to pop anything. I'm going to head back down to the comments. Just while I'm doing that, Katie, if you've got any other questions or comments, that we've got one from Lily, though. This one: do you have to use professional cameras, or can you use more basic video cameras or your phone? What do most B2B brands use? Katie, this is definitely one for you.
Absolute mixture. So I think Chantal, who works with me, has responded in the comments on that one. But yeah, it's a real mixture, and it really depends, again, on what your strategy is. If what you're trying to do is be more raw and live in the moment, be a trade exhibition and wandering around with a selfie stick and chatting away, that's your style, is the energy that sits around that, then an iPhone will, or a phone will work perfectly. If what you want is slightly more professional, which we often find with corporate, then you probably want 1 to 2 or even 3 cameras, or you need a cameraman in the room, all of which can be done pre-recorded, or you can run them straight through live. But of course, live is not short form video. But the
we're chatting anyway.
The real cornerstone to short form video, though, is you're doing it for mobile, because we're all, like this is the way we want to look at this. My dog. This is the way we want to look at this. And so all for mobile, which means that, you know, again and again, I see those webinars being promoted, and this is still images, where every single fact around the webinar is pumped into the image, which on a small screen, most of us cannot read without getting a magnifying glass out. And so we don't. So the same principle applies with short form video, which is you need to make it pithy. You need to make it short. You need to design it and create it in the vertical, not horizontal, because that's how it will work better.
Great. Yeah, I'm doubly excited. Here's another great question. Thoughts on frequency of video content, and how often should a business be aiming to create this content? And I've got a few thoughts on consistency in particular, but do you have a sort of particular recommendation, Katie, on how often you should be doing those recordings?
Consistency, yes. I would also say we tend to work in that, I mentioned, episodic way, which is to carry a theme. You know, the problem with one of the biggest challenges as a marketeer is that social media allows us to keep flipping the switch on the point we're trying to make. You talked about it earlier on, which is having a clear message. And so it's much better to group your videos up and do them as a bundle. So this is the video in which we're going to demonstrate our AI expertise. This is the video in which we show how clever our CEO and leadership team are, wherever it is, right? We're now going to do a series of them. And I would say I tend to think of them as heartbeat campaigns. So it's not just about being consistent. There isn't a number, because each topic will have a different number. Some topics need more exploration. Some just need something short. So but start to think of them in campaign waves.
I also think that the video, this is the topic for today, and we're not doing enough of it in B2B, and how we need to be doing more. But also we've got the habits of people that might not be watching video as well. And so where you've got those campaigns, to be mixing up the formats as much as, you know, we're certainly not going to go, oh, we're all in on video now, just because video is going to be great. And you know, there's still a place for all of the other formats. And yeah, it would be a mistake to not build that in. And so I guess there's going to be a cadence, isn't there? So you're gonna have sort of your content pillars as well, and just be mixing that up. And it's amazing how, when you're really in that repurposing mode, you don't need quite as much content as people often think, do you?
No, especially if you film good quality.
Yeah.
And you script. And I don't mean script as in somebody sits there, but if what you do is storyboard, is a better way of saying, if you storyboard what you want, you can then make sure that you hit the notes that allow you to break that video apart and allow you to run that theme all the way through it. It really works. It's just, it's more, I always think the short form video is more in the planning than in the filming and speaking.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. You know, there's some really good questions coming in. I don't know whether to keep those questions coming, and I'm loving the fact that people are answering questions in the chat as well. So thank you for everybody getting involved with the answers there. We're sort of coming up to the last 10 minutes or so, and I am hopefully you're finding this as useful as I am. But yeah, so Katie, do you want to take one more from the crowd, or was there
Go for it.
Yeah, okay. What do we have here? How to add employee advocacy as a content pillar in B2B marketing. It's hard to get employees to shoot outside of their already busy schedules. Should this be done at a later stage once you feel, I guess, got the consistency? So that's, I guess that what you're thinking about is, do you get everybody doing video so that you've got the power of the employees doing it? Yeah, again, I've got some thoughts on this. I don't know whether anything comes.
You go.
Yeah. I think it's really challenging to get employees posting with brand messaging through their personal profiles when it's not part of their job, and sort of asking them to create a video is, I think that it can be quite, yeah, it's going to be even more challenging. There's no doubt about that. I think what you will find is that there are individuals within the organization who are already showing signs that they are happy to be spending their personal time or time out of their day because they can really see the value in it. So my recommendation would be to focus on those that are showing those signals, and to be giving them the framework and the tools in order to improve the quality of the content that they're putting out. Perhaps incorporate them into a campaign that you've got running, because there is that power in the numbers, but you really, if it's really low quality, it's not going to be as powerful as you might hope. There's also a really interesting new feature on the LinkedIn company page, which is called recommend to employees. So that when people come to your company page, you can have a semi-written post with an asset attached, which could be a video. So if you've created a video campaign and you would like more of your employees to be posting that, that's probably a first stage before getting everybody onto video. You can save them a bit of time by sort of writing a little bit about what why people should be watching the video, and they can add their own little personal bit on the top. When they click post, it goes out as an original post out of there. And so you've given them 80% of the post. They've got the correct asset. They've not had to look in your share drive and to try and find that video. And you also, as a marketer who's on an admin on the company page, you get to see how effective that was as well. So I would say that there are different degrees. You've got senior execs who can be really part of the campaign, and you've got the individuals that might show that they're willing to share video that then you could incorporate into a campaign as well. I don't know whether you're nodding, so I think you agree, Katie.
That's what I'd have said. Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So Hannah, Post Beyond. So Post Beyond, I've used that as well, but this is LinkedIn's own version of it. It doesn't have all the different sort of user groups and things like that, but it's free as well. So they don't have to go to another platform. So I think we might have got through. Oh, I can see there's a whole load of chat going on in the comments. I'm going to get out of the chat now. So the last sort of few minutes, do you think that there are any sort of hard-hitting questions that, we're giving ourselves an easy time here, Katie? Do you think there's anything else that we should be considering when it comes to video on LinkedIn?
Well, outside of planning, and then there's the other end of planning, which is what you're measuring.
Aha.
And being really clever in your planning about how you will measure success. And just remember, like any other form of B2B, as we know, only 5% of people are in the buying market. So you have to give yourself time. However, you should be A/B testing. So you may use a range of videos. You may use leadership videos, but you may also use animation, or you may stitch together a walking tour of something or the other, or whatever it is, or your machinery in action. But the point being is you need to be A/B testing what's working, what's capturing attention all the time through this. And you need to start to think about reach, video completions, click-throughs on a CTA, website visits, so that you can start to pull that through. And if you're using, systems like Pardot or, Eloqua or any of these, the systems that run through to your sales team, is how are you measuring the SQL? How are you measuring the MQL? So if you want to prove ROI, but the reality is that until you start to do that, there are a massive benchmarks out there. You won't know how to get better, what your audience is really interested in, because ultimately it's not about what your leadership thinks. And it's not about what your marketing people think, and it's not how beautiful your video looks. It is whether or not your customer cares enough to watch it, and in watching it is persuaded that they need to put you on their agenda, that you are solving their problem. And if you are solving their problem, they will come and talk to you when they're ready to buy.
That sounds like a brilliant sort of closing closing topic. I guess you need to think about what your objectives are from it to make sure you're using the right KPIs as well. I love the fact that LinkedIn is starting to give us more analytics. Everybody, I think there's 9 million people on creator mode, but everybody's moving on to creator mode shortly. So it means that everybody will get the analytics on their personal profiles. And some of the demographic stuff can be quite good as well, so that you can have that midway point before you get to SQLs. Is your content actually getting in front of the right people? I think that's one of the things that with 1 billion people on LinkedIn that you can be well, I could say you could be talking to anybody, any of those 1 billion people. Most likely is you're talking to the people you always talk to, colleagues, your ex-colleagues, you know. And so yeah, the making sure that you are using the right sorts of tactics, whether that's media spend, whether that's a targeted organic strategy, to get that content in front of the right people in the first place, to be able to persuade them. I feel like we've rattled through a topic, and we could probably keep on going, but should we let's just check if there's any more questions, and perhaps if we've got no others, then we should wrap it up. But I'm sure we'll be continuing this conversation later, Katie.
Definitely, and I'll try and respond to everybody who asked anything that we missed. So I'm sure you'll do the same.
Absolutely, yeah. Keep them coming. So we'll say goodbye for now. Bye, everybody. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your comments.
Thank you, Laura.